live on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about how to find what to buy. A lot of the questions that I get, especially online, is trying to find what to buy. Okay. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that. All right. So we're going to use bar charts. So let me share my screen. Let me go back to Zoom here. Click share. Let's see here. Share options, desktop. Let's go. All right. Okay. And let me pull up the chat over here for YouTube. So if you all have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Okay. I'll be paying attention to that on the side. If you are watching this later in the future, you can always just drop me a comment and I can answer to you. Okay. So today we're going to walk through. I get a lot of questions about, where to get started. Everybody's like, I got this, I'm trying to get in. What's the worst part about investing is that it's when the market's at all-time highs that people actually want to start buying stocks, right? And so I always tell people, the best times to buy are in the worst times in the market, right? So when prices are lower, that's when we're looking for opportunities. Okay. So let's go over bar chart, a few tools here. So for beginners, if you're ever looking for where to get started, there's an entire tab for you on investing. Okay. I know there's a lot of people that want to trade and make some money, but a lot of times we can take what we have and have it generating more income for us through investing. This is without working, just finding great stocks across different sectors or looking at insider trading, politicians, what politicians are doing. This is really interesting. And all of this is free. Right. So we can come here, whether you're looking for candlestick patterns, if you're a technical person, or you're looking for top stocks under 10 bucks, right? Hot penny stocks. There's so many different things here from different quantum stock sectors, nuclear energy, Magnificent Seven. These are all things you hear about. Dividend kings, dividend aristocrats, like Kathy Woods, clean energy, crypto. I could go on and on and on. So like this is where you can kind of come to get a great start. Okay. But today I'm going to talk about some of these screeners. All right. Now, one to get me kind of started when I first came to this website because it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of data here on bar chart, but if you know how to use it, you can really hone in on perfecting your skills here. All right, so if you're a technical trader, there are things like Golden Cross, Death Cross, a lot of times strong volume games, looking at like where's the most active and those stocks that are actively moving now. Tech stocks. One of the things that I like is the RSI overbought and oversold. So like my nieces text me and they were like, hey, um, we were looking at videos online and they were saying we should buy Nvidia. We've been seeing a lot of great things about Nvidia. Should we buy an Nvidia? And I said, Nvidia is a great stock if you're looking at long term, right? Investing over the long term, you may lose money in the short term, but if you have a long term aspect, obviously you're going to be making money on great stocks. But most specifically, it's index funds. I always try to tell them to focus on index funds. But if you're looking for stocks, you always want to look for some that are trading at a discount. And a great way to find that is with RSI oversold. So we'll click on this here screener and I'll just kind of show you a couple of the parameters that it kind of starts. And now when you get here, it'll give you a list. You can sort this by volume, price, whatever, performance, right? Now, if you don't see anything particularly on this list here that stands out to you, you can always, I like to do my own here because this one, I'll show you what the parameters are. This is 30% RSI, which means that it is completely oversold. Like it's cooked already, right? But what I like to do is kind of catch stocks almost going in that direction or coming back. Now, the cool thing about bar chart, when you go to any of these screeners from the menus, you can pick one of their previous screeners. So remember that page we just went on? You can be on the screener and access any of these, right? Best REITs, defensive stocks, whatever you want, right? Right here. But I have one that's saved here. So you can create these saved screeners as well. I have one that's saved here. It's the S&P 500 oversold stocks. Now, I think this is a great one for beginners. looking for opportunities, right? Remember that none of this stuff is financial advice. The stocks we're about to look at, this is not, hey, go buy these. This is just I'm a dude that loves to use bar chart and show people how to use these tools to really get ahead of the market and find opportunities before they take off. Okay. So if you're looking for discounted great companies, we want to look for large and mega market cap. Okay, so you can type in these things. So if you're coming here and you want to set this up, these little filter titles right here, you just type them in, right? Market cap. Boom, select it. And when you select it, you need to click add. Okay, so let's say I wanted to add another one here. What do I not have here? We'll add bar chart opinion or something. So I can type in opinion and let's do overall opinion percentage or yeah, trend. Yeah, I'll add that and then we'll do trend seeker as well. What's trend seeker saying? Now this is bar chart signals. Okay. So I can add these different things, but right now you can do index groups. Okay. You can also do market cap where we're looking for large and mega cap in the S&P 500. And if you're a beginner and you're wondering, well, why the S&P 500? Why do the people always talk about the S&P 500? These are 500 plus of some of the best companies in the United States. Okay. So these are the best companies on the stock market, essentially. And the S&P has funds that are going to buy the stocks that are in this. Okay. So after this, I'm going to show you where to find out what's in it because that's where you really need to focus. Okay. So we're focusing already on the S&P 500. Okay, so we know that the stocks that are about to come up are great companies that are already in index funds. So big hedge funds, big mutual funds, and the Fidelities and all of those Vanguards, they're buying this. So we want to search for the biggest ones. Now you can look for the small fish, but we don't know if they're going to survive. Okay, so we're looking for the sure freaking comeback kings. Okay. And then 14-day RSI. This is relative strength index over 2 weeks. So is the price discounted based on the relative price over 2 weeks? Okay. So I want that under 45%. Now you can do 50% to find stocks that are going down. But the goal is I want them already a little down. I don't want to have to catch them going down and then it's too early trying to catch a falling knife, right? I want them to already be down or coming back from that, right? So I want them to be approaching 30 or coming back from 30% on the RSI, okay? So I put this at 45 to catch them as a signal going down or they're coming back, but they're still below 50%. Okay. Now, volume minimum 1 million. I don't really want anything that's not being traded, right? But a lot of the top stocks that we're going to sort these by volume. So that isn't that much of a big deal. But these are a couple other things that you can add. But I want to see where it is in relativeness to its 20, 100, and 200 day. But these aren't that important. The filters I've set is S&P 500, large and mega cap stocks, under 45% on the RSI. Okay. Click see results. We're going to, now if I click over here to filter view, I'll see it based on the things that, and I think this is important for people that are looking for opportunities that are like unsure which ones, right? Because like if we scroll through this list, there's a lot of names we know, SMCI, Coinbase, Microchip, Walt Disney, J&J, CrowdStrike. Wow, okay. Digital Realty Trust. Okay, Ball. That's defense. Okay. So let's look for maybe, okay, I don't know what VC properties is, but it's got buys across the thing. And like I said, this is not, whoa. Okay, let's see here. And when we pull up these charts, you can actually see that these stocks, let's see if we go over the 3 month, right? Or let's do 1 month because they're obviously oversold right now. You can see all the dips because we've already set in the parameter that we want lower prices, right? So and the higher these are, the more volume there is. So, what can we take a look at here? Let's go back to this list view and do it by, let's go back to the filter view so we can see these signals and we're sorting by volume. So what do we want here? I don't like Supermicro too much. You know what? What I do want to show you, you got energy here, decor. Let's take a look at CrowdStrike. I don't think CrowdStrike. You know what? Let's pull up the charts and see what traders are doing. This is crucial because it's like looking at that, you really don't know. So I come over here to templates. Now, bar chart has pre-made templates for you. So let's say you wanted to do golden death cross and stuff like that. This is the 50 and the 200-day moving averages, right? You can also add RSI, right? But we already know a lot of these are below the 45 on the RSI. But I particularly like to use the RSI as well as the put call ratio. So I have an indicator or a set that has that. Let's see. Okay, boom. So this has the RSI and the put call ratio. So the put call ratio lets me know if there's either a lot more puts or more calls. Okay. So right here, it looks like puts are stepping in. So I don't really like that. Look like they're fading that. SMCI. Okay, stocks down, gap down. So we have a target back up, but it looks like it really doesn't have any support until it gets down to 40, right? And we can see that bears are stepping in here. We can see that there are more people bearish as this goes up, and they're not leaving after it just gapped down. Like you would expect maybe like a drop in this, but it's almost as if they are saying that this stock will go down even further, right? And it's broken below moving averages. So I would pay attention to that. That's not something I would really want to chase. Coinbase, this is crypto. See, this is what you want, like a gap down, but bull bears are running from this, right? They were short here. Everybody's trying to fade this overbought, and it gapped down, and you can see that the put call ratio is fading, as in more calls are stepping in or puts are leaving, right? They're taking profit and they're not trying to stand in the way of crypto, but still, this is falling below moving averages. You would want to see a reclaim there. Let's look at Disney. Trying to find something decent. Okay. You know, Disney's holding up this range here. We can see it was some highs from the past, and it's holding that up nicely. But this is a sort of range that it needs to stay out of it, or it has to come down here to 115. But the RSI is low. Calls are stepping in deep here, right? You can see how that dropped off as the stock gapped down here. Bears went ahead and took their profit, and now calls are stepping back in. So looks promising. Crowd. I like crowd here. And these are not recommendations. This is just, okay, it looks like people are trying to fade crowd, but it's still low on the RSI. You know what? Let me just show you guys how to play some of this safe. All right, let's look at Disney. Let's look at Disney. Or, yeah, let's look at Disney. I like Disney here. Or CrowdStrike, I think is it. Yeah, Disney. Let's look at Disney. We'll go into Disney here. And we can try to figure out like, okay, we know that I can actually go straight to the put call ratio here. On Disney, we know that based on the open interest that we saw, there's a lot of calls stepping in, right? And we can see that the volume is also pointing down as well. But most importantly, we can see here that right after earnings, a whole bunch of calls just stepped in here. All right. And now if we come down here, we can go to the volume graph and see, well, where are they? Okay, so they're at the September expirations and the January expirations, okay? A lot of volume on these weeklies and stuff, but you'll lose money here for sure. You'll lose a lot of money here, and the stock has to move now if you want to trade these. So you always want to get some time, and that's why a lot of people are trading January right here. But if we go into let's see. Let's say let's do January since most of the weight is here. You can then kind of explore, and I like them side by side because this is an option chain essentially. And you go to the volume graph, we can see exactly where they are. So let's see. On the open interest, puts are at 100, and then on the call side. Looks like we got a lot at 160 on open interest. Wow. And then see 140, right? And you can see the price here as well. So we can see here that they're buying and holding a lot of contracts at 43 bucks basically for expirations in January, I believe is what we're looking at. Yeah, this is January expirations. So this is telling you that on the short side, they're looking at 100 to pull it down, right? And then on the long side, they're trying to pull it up to 150, 140, right? So now that we know that visually, right? And you can pick whatever strike price you want. I'm not like recommending a trade, but this is how you could search for options. So we first picked the expiration. Now we're looking at the strikes. So do you want puts at 100 or do you want calls at 140 or 160? Because we're looking at open interest on this side. This is volume. This really isn't relevant because it can change daily. But this is people that are on the team. These are people building positions. This is people building puts. This is people building calls. So we can see 160, 140 on the call side, 100 on the puts. So if we go to gamma exposure, I don't have too much time, so I got to go here in a minute. If we go to gamma exposure, we can now visually see that, right? So we can see puts are trying to pull it down here to 100, and it looks like they got a lot of exposure on at 110 as well on the put side, because we were only looking at one expiration, right? Based on where a lot of traders were, but this is pulling over several expiration dates. Okay, so we're pulling data from some of those biggest dates. Okay, so we want to know where is that concentration visually. So you can see here that like bears are trying to pull it to this 110, and then after that point, it accelerates to 100. Okay. But if it can stay above this 115, then we could potentially come to 120, start trying to push towards 130. But we are coming into the weakest months. Okay. So, this is like how you find option trades, but then try to figure out what strike price you want to get. But then if you want to see it, puts versus calls, this is it. But this is the net. So this is saying that puts are winning by this much on this side. So overall, there's more puts than calls here. But if you want to see both ends, you can see it here. Right. So we can see that there's way more calls here than puts, which is why this is much larger. Okay, so gamma exposure lets us kind of know and you can put on put wall, right, at 110, call wall at 125, right? So this is the range that traders are trying to trade, right? So even if you were to go for something like, let's say you want to go for a trade where you're expecting volatility to stay within this or range outside of this. So like strangles and straddles is how they make money with this kind of stuff. They're like, all right, the stock will stay between this price in this amount of time, or I expect price to break below this level, and they can sell contracts so long as the expiration, and the price meets up with whatever their goal was, right? But gamma exposure is a great tool on bar chart that lets you kind of see the price volatility and like where the market's trying to pull it. Okay. So pay attention to those levels. But let's say you're new and you're like, dude, I don't understand all of that stuff. I really like to understand like where is the sectors, because my niece was like chasing like tech stocks basically. She's seeing Nvidia on Instagram and she's like, yo, they say to buy Nvidia. But I want to look at let's see, over 1 year, what is down? Holy moly. Healthcare is down bad, right? We got energy and healthcare and real estate. Real estate, obviously, because housing prices are kind of getting cut. Interest rates have a lot to do with why real estate is down, because obviously people aren't building as much, people aren't buying as much. So a lot of the supply chain there is getting affected. So if you want to look into real estate, you can click real estate. But we see here healthcare is down. So when you talk about if I have billions of dollars like Buffett, right? I have 300 billion dollars to invest. I'm not chasing Nvidia at the top. Right, that's too much risk for me. I could stand to lose a lot of money in the short term, and it's not worth it even in the long term. Just in terms of if you have billions of dollars, you want guaranteed, right? You don't want like, oh, let's chase the trend. That's for traders, right? So this is how you find, where the diamonds in the rough, right? And healthcare. I've been telling people, healthcare is where it's at. And if you want to, you can click here and we can come under, let's go to, this is S&P sectors. I wonder how, let's see, these are the ETF components, but where are the ETFs? Let's see. Actually, let's go. So now that we know healthcare is down, we'll go to the ETF finder, right? And we can go here to equities. What do I want to do? Sector and industry. Healthcare since it's down. You can do real estate. You can do I don't know what the other one was on there. What was it? Healthcare, um, real estate and something. Energy was down. So you can click energy if you like. I know a lot of people when I went back home were asking me about energy. I don't get into it, right? There's just too much geopolitical stuff that can happen with that and all kinds of stuff. But utilities is guaranteed. Hey, that bill gonna be due all the time. But real estate, but healthcare was what was really down. Okay. So you can find particular healthcares, whether it's services, how that last sector portion we went through, how it broke it down. You can start there, or you can just leave it open to just in general healthcare, right? So you can sort this by assets under management, right? So we can see the biggest one, the one that has the most money, the one that is the big dog essentially. So it's the S&P 500 Spider healthcare sector ETF. So there's a lot of these. There's XLK, which I think is like tech. There's XLV, which is healthcare. There's there's XLI, there's XLE energy, there's XL freaking RE real estate. There's so many, okay? But this one is the biggest, right? So we can come here and see the performance. It's been cooking up a little bit of action, right? Got a little bit of volume too. So if we put in order volume, got the largest volume and the big dog, right? So, not only is healthcare down, but hell, this is the biggest and the most volume. Like people are here, people are doing something, right? So we can pull up the charts too with the mini chart view, right? And this is for investors. This is people that like to look like Buffett, right? So we can see over 6 months that a lot of these are taking hits, specifically this XLV. Now, all of these other ones, biotech, probably a lot of like penny stock, like pharmaceutical companies and stuff. Biotechnology, yeah. So these stocks are always kind of on a race. But the sector as a whole, we already know is down. So this ETF is down. US healthcare providers iShares ETF down. US healthcare iShares ETF down. But the big dog we know is the S&P 500 healthcare sector SP XLV. Okay. So if we go into this, we click this, we want to see this one. So we can click that. And we would come in here, it's going to pull up the charts, but we can go to the price overview because we want to look into, this ETF's been down, but it's trading at prices from the past, which is nice. Okay. So we're getting a little discount. It was once at 160, pulled down to 130, but we've been here before. This is not new territory. Okay. So we also get a dividend yield from this. Okay, nice. Now we talking. Okay. Now this is where it gets cool. So I know a lot of people. Let me go check my stories because somebody did ask me about Eli Lilly. So this is where I'm trying to get at is that this is how let me see where, if I have any questions before, and I can answer some of these on the live. Okay, cool. Yeah. So somebody asked me about Eli Lilly, and boom, wouldn't you know it? One of the biggest holdings of this ETF is Eli Lilly. And wouldn't you know it as well? United Health is in here too. And Warren Buffett just bought I don't know, millions of shares. So if we open this up and go to see more, now this is also under the menu under constituents right here. I'm making a video for bar chart about this, but I was like, let me break some of this down and kind of dissect this for you. So we can see here the biggest holdings is Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, AbbVie, and United Health, right? A lot of these other ones that just get smaller down as here. But when you buy this, you buy a piece of all of these. So you don't take on the individual risk of Eli Lilly and weight loss drugs or Johnson & Johnson supplies or United Healthcare insurance and stuff and CEOs getting killed and stuff like that. And, whatever else people want to protest on this list. No, you get exposure across the market. So you don't take the individual risk, and we already know it's trading at a discount. Okay. So we can save this here as a watch list to watch these stocks and just save it as like our sector. Like if I click say, I can save it as like the S&P 500. Healthcare ETF, XLV. So now I can watch the S&P 500 healthcare whenever I want, right? I can click here and boom, it's now a watch list for me. I can sort it by volume, see who moving. We see that United Health is the biggest mover out of here, right? And then we can see 2% change. Boom, United Health and Centene are on the move. What the heck is going on, right? So then you're like, what is Centene? So you can dive into Centene, go look at Centene. So if you've never heard of Centene, well, heck, one thing I want to do is kind of look at what's going on with the insiders. What are they doing? Oh, they buying. Okay, they buying their own dip. Okay, not only that, I can add politicians here. So I can say, all right, include politicians for me. Oh, okay. The CEO bought some shares. This month? And then politicians bought the dip. But you know what's even funnier? You can see the sales too, and you can see that politicians were selling. Let's see, Ro Khanna bought shares and then turned around and sold them. 623 was the last sale by politicians, right? They were selling it in April, buying and selling it, buying and selling it. And then, so let's filter these by sell so you can see what they were doing. So we see the last sale was right at 623. All these politicians were dumping it as leading up to 623. Wouldn't you know it? 623 is right here, and then boom, big beautiful bill gets introduced and passed. Boom, stock collapses. Right. Let me check the chat, make sure I don't have any questions here. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is how you essentially kind of just scan for what's going on. Like, all right, well, they were sure buying it before that dip or selling it before that dip. And now what are they doing? They're buying it, right? So here in right after that, July, all in July and up to this month, politicians and insiders have been buying this dip. And so we can see by the screener we just had that this stock is also on the move. So this is just how to kind of go through how to find stocks because sometimes this will change, right? When we come over to this sector, we can see that even though healthcare was down over the year, it's one of the biggest movers right now, right? So if you want to see what exactly is moving, over the last 3 months, you can even say that, all right, we can see that tech has been carrying most of this rally, but what is on the move right now? Okay. So does that make sense? Did y'all just see what I just did there? Okay, so we can see what's been carrying the market this year. So we don't want to chase that. So when my niece hits me up and says, should we buy tech? Well, we might want to let that breathe a little bit. And I told y'all utilities is always going to get to the bag. Okay, them bills is due every month. If you pay those, you don't have water, you don't have energy, you don't have anything, okay? Those are critical. But sometimes we have things that have dips. Okay, so we focus here. Like I said, if you like energy, you can take a look at that yourself. It's just not something I'm interested in. Real estate is also a lagging one this year that's been slow to take on or just take off. But REITs. I know a lot of people talk about REITs, so look into these, dive into it. I just showed you how to use the ETF finder as well. So if you want to look into and a lot of people are like index funds. Click on index, right? And you can look at the S&P 500 and it'll pull up the biggest ones, right? So we can say assets under management, the biggest ones. So we know VOO is one of the most popular, right? SPY is one of the most traded when it comes to options and stuff. So stick to these, right? You only need to buy one of them. You don't need to buy both of them. You don't need to SPY and VOO. They're the same. So you don't have to pay different fees to own the same stocks. Because when we look at VOO, right, we can then say, all right, well, what is in it? This is the top 10 holdings right here. Focus only on these. Buying anything out of this as a beginner is financial suicide, right? Because you have no clue what you're doing. Just focus on the top 10. They're going to keep buying these things, right? So if I can come here and say, see more, I can look at the top 10 holdings right here. And if I look at flip charts, right? So I can look at the flip charts and I can say, well, which one of these is down, right? So I can scan through these charts and be like, well, let me look for a dip out of the top 10 holdings. Well, let me not waste no time. I'm going to get you right to the dip. This thing is down and it's in the S&P 500. Okay, now how do I know it's down? If we turn on my RSI with the put call ratio right here, boom, 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 we can see here the stock was down here, right? Now we can see the calls were stepping in as well as the stock, like they were bearish right all up in here, as the stock took a hit, fell below its 200. Yeah. And so the stock is now above these moving averages, right? Reclaiming some moving averages. So calls are starting to step in as they saw price was moving higher. Okay. So pay attention to that. Let's see what other names we have on here. All these other names have been taken off. Google is always bounced back. Yeah, Google's been on a tear. A lot of these are a little overbought. So when my niece is like, should I buy Nvidia? It's like, price is a little too high, right? Let's look at Tesla. Tesla a little sideways right now, trying to make up its mind, but it's holding up this little 330 level. Eli Lilly, another one that's in the S&P 500 that's trading down. It's got a gap up here to close. So pay attention to this level at, let's say 745. We'll just say 745 right there. All right, so price could potentially push its way up to 745 if healthcare starts to take off. Let's look at Visa. It's down a little bit, trying to make some comeback action. Got a little bit of turbulence there, so keep that on watch. Netflix, what's going on? Looks like Netflix trying to cook up some action. A lot of bulls stepped in here, but bears are starting to come back. Costco, what's going on with Costco? Sideways. Energy. Let's look at Exxon. Look like it's trying its best to stay up over there. That's why I said I don't mess with energy. Walmart, I just been cooking pressure. All right, y'all, that's about it, man. UNH, it's been on the move. Look at that. Look at that volume right there, man. When you get a gap up with that kind of volume, that's the Buffett effect right there, baby. Jeez. And look at all these calls. They just been waiting for this, man. This was the easiest manna from heaven play ever. And it was just like all it needed was a Buffett type effect to come in there. I mean, this was just waiting on it. It had so much trash talk, DOJ investigations, all that crazy stuff. And then let's look into the insiders. What were they doing? Right, insider trades. All right, we don't want all of that. We'll throw some politicians in here. We'll see. Okay, so they sold. We had somebody buy. Old Timothy was buying up the dip. Let's look at the buys. So it looks like Timothy was coming in and everybody was buying it. All May. Mike McCall, this big dog, this Richie Rich. Bro Connor, he talking about he want to stop Congress trading. He the main one trade. Let me actually show you all that before I go. I'm gonna go ahead and drop off. I feel like I've given you enough sauce today. But you can see here as these politicians talk about they're trying to stop Congress from trading, the main ones talking about it are the biggest traders on Wall Street. Okay. Highest trading value. We got big dogs like Nancy Pelosi. Michael McCall is Richie Rich. I don't know what Cleo Fields does, but he was buying up them chip stocks heavy. I guess he just went all in on Nvidia and a whole bunch of stuff. Now, when you click on them, you can see what they're buying and when. I can see that Cleo Field dropped 3 mil. Look at this, 3 mil. Where that 3 mil buy at? Where is it? You can do transaction size, so we'll do over 1 million. There it is, 3 million. He bought Nvidia right before it took off. So Cleo was making some big dog moves. But I usually like to look for bigger trades to figure out, what are they buying, politicians and stuff. This is a great way to find out what to buy. Hell, just follow their trades. So don't try to stop them. Fuck all that shit. Don't push that agenda, okay? We want them to tell us what they're buying so we can figure out, well, all right, what's the next play? Because they have to report this information. So don't stop them from trading. If you stop them from trading, we don't know. We don't know. We don't have any insiders. They giving us the plays. Let them cook. Chill. Okay. Does that make sense? Everybody chill. We're making money. Okay. Let us get to the bag here. If you want to know what they're buying, just come here. Click on this. You can see what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. Don't get caught up in all that political stuff. Okay. Liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative. Don't get into that. Hey, we're focused on red and green here. That's the only colors we see, baby. All right. Preferably green. We want to get to the bag. Okay. How y'all like making money? I love making money. Okay. So Make sure you use bar chart to your advantage. Come here, click on the Learn tab. A lot of great tools here to learn about. Also, free newsletters. Okay. Also, if you go to site news, no, go to authors right here. This is where I write a lot of articles. And we send a lot of emails out as well. So I'll do videos and kind of do these articles that go along with videos. Okay. So you all can come in here and check out these articles. Basically, if you click on an article here, you'll get a breakdown of what we're talking about, plus a video that'll also break this down. Okay. So don't skip out on all this quality content. If you go to Bar Chart Insights, you can also follow me as an author. Okay. So come here and get the sauce. And yeah, it's time to level up, man. So if you're looking on ways to find what's going on, where to invest, I always tell people to focus on ETFs. So definitely focus on index funds and stuff. You'll see that they're always the top in terms of trading volume. So if you're new to investing, focus on just buying VOO. This is your savings account. This is your high yield savings account, essentially, right? In the short term, right now, we are running into, like, if we actually go here and go to the SPY and we go to seasonality. So this is under seasonal returns. We can see here that August and September are weak months for returns. So I'm just saying that as the stock market hits new highs, don't expect them to be making a lot of money over August and September, right? We need a pullback during these times to really fuel us into two of the best months, which is going to be November coming up specifically. Now, November is a strong month because a lot of times you have elections during November. So we get results and we get clarity, we get direction. So the market definitely loves a good November. Okay. So, look for opportunities in this month, but we do like to look for dips. Okay. We don't like to chase the tops. Those prices will always come down, especially if stocks are hitting new highs. Don't think that they won't see these prices again in the future. So be patient, let them do their thing. Make sure you're finding good dips around the market in order for you to really get cash. There's no question as to why Buffett makes the moves that he makes. You don't ever see Buffett buying at the top. Buffett is always buying discounts. Okay. So Buffett's always looking for values and we're looking for great dips. Okay. So if y'all have any questions, drop a comment. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you follow, subscribe, share this video, share the knowledge. Don't be a gatekeeper. Okay. The whole purpose of me coming and do this, to kind of share information with you all. All right. So if I'm making money, there's no reason why we all can't get these blessings. All right. So I appreciate y'all being here. And I'll see y'all for the next one. And we'll do this every Sunday. I'm not going to set a time, so make sure you turn on your notifications so you can get alerted on these. But yeah, we're going to do this as much as possible, as often as possible. But specifically on Sundays, I'll come in here and just have your notifications on and be looking for a live, okay? Because I don't know what time frame I'll be in, but just whenever I have time, I'll come in here and drop some knowledge. All right, it's been fun. I'll see you.